A day for me. First off, I get stood up by the blonde barber today. Now, I'm tired in my life.
But this isn't the first time in your life that you've been stood up by a female.
Well, as I look at the monitor here with us, the visual of us, now I can kind of understand why.
Look at the biceps right there. Look at that. What arm is that? Oh, my.
Really, that arm of yours is looking mighty big.
A little beefy there.
Yeah, a little beefy there.
I'm glad it's going to be next to Mr. Rodriguez over there, showing what I still got going on.
I wonder how because you mentioned Mr. Rodriguez. We have Ryan Rodriguez, center from Christopher Columbus High School. He just signed about 2 weeks ago with the University of Miami.
Yep.
As their new center coming in, and you played the center position, your years at the U. You're probably the last center of any prominence, I guess, at the U.
Yeah,
right?
for the most part. Yeah. For the most part, I was by far the one with the longest tenure, the most decorated one. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's been a couple decades since we've had a highly touted, decorated center. So, but right now we got, Corey Gaynor, who's my boy. Corey Gaynor's over there holding down the center of that offensive line. And I believe he was on the watch list this year for the Remington Award, the best center in the country, which
he's played well.
Yeah, he's. I guess you could say he's really. He's probably the bright spot amongst that offensive line right now. There's a couple other guys that are still regarded pretty decently, but Corey is by far the leader of the team captain, that kind of thing. So he's going to have to try to beat out a guy that's seasoned and has got big shoes to fill. But I imagine the same thing that they do now in the NFL is they just need the best five to be on the football field. So whether Corey is big enough and so is Rodriguez, both these guys are going to be – you're going to see the size of Rodriguez as a high school kid coming in and standing next to me. He's big. He's a lot bigger than I am.
Than you were coming in.
Oh, right? There's no doubt about it. I think they're bigger than I was probably when I was playing collegiate and NFL football.
Isn't
to be
it
honest.
amazing?
Like Corey Gaynor's 310 pounds, 305, and he's like 6'4", probably 6'5", and yeah, these guys are they're big nowadays.
But you were at the U, you were playing what, at maybe 285?
285, in the 280s and 285, and then I kind of creeped up my senior year for the NFL to about 292, 293, and then yeah, it was one of those things where, my God, man, they make them so big now. And if you watched any of these bowl games over the last couple of days, the Ohio States and the Bamas, like, my God, they're monstrous. And they handled anything that you were putting them in front. Like, obviously, they handled Clemson very, very well. They crushed Clemson, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't even surprised at what was happening once I saw the offensive line of Ohio State dominating. I was just like, this is going to be a long one. I was even texting Fowler during the game. I'm like, Fowler, get ready, man. These offensive linemen are going to kill these guys. It was that obvious to me.
I had Lee Sterling in here at Miami Community News doing sort of a show on Wednesday of last week in the morning, and he was telling us he thought Ohio State was going to pull an upset on that one. He called
that, really?
He called it.
I wouldn't have
called
that.
Tommy? Yeah, he called it. He really thought that Sweeney had made a big mistake by besmirching Ohio State the way he did.
Well, the internet let them have it too.
Right.
They didn't let him forget that he ended up ranking these guys 11. But people were misunderstood when the reason why he ranked them 11 that was because the lack of competition, the lack of games.
But if you're in that locker room at Ohio State, you're the coach of Ohio State. You're not putting that caveat to what he said. You're showing it to your players and going, man, clearly, that other coach thinks we're number 11.
That bulletin board material,
yes,
and which I found out this year when recapping the national championship game against Ohio State, a couple of the Ohio State players let ESPN know that they were using all of our comments as bulletin board material over there in that locker room, to the point where in the pregame, these guys were told certain things by Tressel, their head coach, that some of it was untrue, some of it was somewhat embellished, but whatever it took to light a spark underneath their ass, they ended up taking it out on us. So it was it's not something that Ohio State has not done in the past, I guess you could say. So
yeah,
kudos to those guys.
And despite the fact that I think UM in 2002 won that game.
Oh, I think so too.
They did play a mighty well, Ohio State.
They did. We probably played one of the worst games we played in a long time, and Ohio State played very well, and they were coached very well that game. They made a lot of decisions, a lot of game time decisions and changes that ended up obviously putting them up and above us.
So that stuff, that bulletin board stuff really works.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're calling out particular names. If you're calling out groups, offensive line, the weak link, or, the defensive line sucks or whatever it might be. Some guys, won't take kindly to it. But if you're actually putting a name and a number behind something, which is, I believe, what a lot of the guys from Clemson were doing, it's going to definitely ignite some form of competition that player might not have had prior.
That's interesting to hear you say, because my perception has always been that stuff that we, the general public and the media embellishes and talks a lot about, the players don't necessarily give a lot of credence to that. Is that the same at the professional level? Or once you become a pro, it's you don't even pay attention.
Oh, no, it's even worse. I think at the professional level, it becomes even worse because you're talking about now you're encompassing somebody's family, somebody's last name. They're taking money off and food off of their tables. So, now you're talking about a whole bunch of different things. And then obviously the public perception amongst like coworkers, that's another thing. You're no longer just like boys and teammates at a collegiate level or classmates for that matter, and worrying about maybe like somebody on campus saying something. Now you're worried about like your uncles and aunts and grandparents questioning at the family table something that was said about you, in the past. So it's trials and tribulations that you're going to go through as a player that you definitely need to find something aside from monetary investment going to get you up every Sunday morning to play. Well,
clearly it got Ohio State up because they did put a good old-fashioned ass whooping.
Oh, yeah, they killed them. They crushed them.
On Clemson.
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
And I was surprised by the end result. I tell you what, that Justin Fields looks like a pro quarterback to me.
He looks really good, man. He looks really good. And then evidently you could see even on the following NFL games that were going on. I think Deion Sanders had something. He came out with something talking about, Fields. I hope they don't compare him to every other Ohio State quarterback that has come out, and something along those lines with the comparisons. But yeah, I think Fields is going to do wonders. And this is the kid Fields that came from the University of Georgia, too, if I'm not mistaken. Because I remember going up to Atlanta and doing something with the Atlanta Falcons, and part of our conversation had to do with the University of Georgia's camp and what Fields was going to do. And I actually called Fields leaving out of the University of Georgia long before he even thought he was going to leave. This is when he showed up on campus as a freshman when, Georgia had a couple big names at the quarterback spot. And I was just like, Fields is not going to stay. He's going to go somewhere else in order to get a shot.
Right. Well, he got his shot and he took advantage of it. Do you think that the game the year before when, Ohio State came just that short to beating Clemson in the semifinals, that is a motivating factor as well?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I guess so, because I think you're always going to remember that taste in your mouth. That you could see a couple guys and a couple pictures that was put on over the weekend of players that went back out after losing. Whether they were sitting in the center of the football field, on the sideline, watching another team accept the trophy during a bowl game.
Right.
Just a taste that you want to have in your mouth to remember. Like, I'll never forget the story of when Jeremy Shockey lost his high school championship in Ada, Oklahoma, where all the rednecks are. Jeremy actually ate the dirt on the football field and made his mouth and breath taste like, obviously there's a lot of cow pasture out there. I imagine there's some farmland. So he wanted to remember that horrible taste and feeling in his mouth of losing a championship on that field. So when he came back the following year, he was able to win one. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know being a Gator, Tim Tebow's last year, they beat Alabama in the SEC championship. And that whole year in the SEC, that was the talk at Alabama, how they wanted to revenge the Gators for losing that SEC championship the year before. And when that game happened, they really looked. I bring up the Gators because, as you know, this is the Romberg and Korge show, where a Gator and a Cane can coexist.
He loves that.
And I do love it. And the reason I bring it up is because Alex Aguirre, our new producer back at Onside Radio.
Is he a Gator?
He's a Gator.
Look, now it's 2 against 1, huh?
It's 2 against.
Tommy, who you got, man? Who you got over here? You a Cane guy?
Canes, man, for life, bro.
Okay, so we're 2 for 2.
But he's a Californian.
Oh, that's true.
What's wrong with that, dude? This guy's from Canada. At least I'm United States. Come on, bro.
True. You are an American.
But we got another Gator in the studio here, back at Onside Radio. And we're glad to have Alex Aguirre on board. Alex, welcome to the Romberg and Korge show. Great to have you on board here during our program. And so, Dolphins.
Oof.
What a walloping that was. We got to talk more about that during the show.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to, especially with all the coaching changes that have gone on too, especially. I would have never have thought that they were going to be getting rid of Gailey. You know, I thought for sure that they were going to keep that offensive coordinator. Whether it's, I don't know if that shows a symbol of maybe some kind of, I guess you could say, bad rub between Fitzpatrick and Tua Tagovailoa, because if you think about it, Flores is going to continuously go back and forth on this carousel of what's going on at the quarterback situation.
Yes.
Did Chain not go ahead and open up the playbook well enough for Tua, where he was doing certain things for Fitzpatrick that, you know, wasn't happening for Tua? And how many times have you had to go back to the bullpen and bring out the old veteran in order to go ahead and win ball games, and then still announce Tua as the starter? So I'm wondering how much of that, the poop runs downhill theory, happened over there, where you can't blame Flores for this. But how well did Gailey develop Tua Tagovailoa, a player that the crowd, the fan base, South Florida has been yearning for 2 years ultimately, you know? So I think that's a big discussion to be had as well. And unfortunately, the way that the Dolphins just kind of puttered out at the end of the season. They really did. They had a lot of things going well for them, a lot. And they still do. Like, if you really think about it, if you look at the records, very similar to the Miami Hurricanes too, very similar to that, is you look at the win-loss column from a year prior, and you look at the win-loss column for this year for both teams, both Canes and Dolphins, and they've improved drastically improved.
Yes.
So, it's going to be time will tell kind of situation here. I thought everybody else elevated as well, too, their level of play. So whether you're looking at individual play, our offensive line played a lot better. Clearly, Xavier Howard had an amazing season. Like,
one of the best in Dolphin history in that position.
Season. I can't wait to see what his situation is going to be. If he's going to be like continuously on that trajectory, like a Jalen Ramsey, or who was another big defensive back that ended up getting paid, Richard Sherman, like another big monstrous deal coming out. He'll probably have to void one of his years on his deal, on his contract, is my guess, and then just get the farm thrown at him.
Well, he's making a lot of money now.
Yeah, he's making some dough now. There's no doubt about it. He'll be tied up for a few years, but I think he's going to find a way to get out of that. Maybe he's got like some kind of voidable year at the end.
And what do you think about the conversation about Tua and the quarterback position with the Dolphins? I know Ron Wolf, when he was a GM with the Packers, he said he would take a quarterback every year, whether it's a draft, by trading for one, by free agency. He would bring in a new quarterback every year onto the Packer lineup. And hey, proof's in the pudding. They went from one great quarterback to another.
Yep.
You know, they had Brett Favre, who was still pretty much in the prime of it, maybe towards the end, but close to the prime of his career. And they drafted in the first round Aaron Rodgers. So that paid off pretty good for them.
And even I think at this route too, like the same way that they did Aaron Rodgers this year, you saw the spark that got lit under Aaron. Aaron Rodgers might have had arguably one of the best years he's ever had in the NFL.
No question.
Incredible. So yeah, they're doing something right in Green Bay now. Like, they really are finding ways, regardless of what GM might be at the helm. But yes, I agree with you 100%. That no matter who is up there, the amount of impact that a quarterback will have over a football program, organization, even financially throughout the community, a face of a franchise. It didn't matter how bad Dan Marino was at the end of we're still talking about Dan Marino down here like he's God. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter how they ended up finishing their career off. You always got to have something in the bullpen at a quarterback position.
Yeah, you really, really do. And I think the Dolphins now more than ever.
What do they got? Number 3 pick now? Is this
they got the 3rd pick in the draft.
Thanks to Tannehill, right? Is what I was told.
No, because
of the Titans.
No. Oh, yes, because the Titans beat Houston. Yes, correct. And because Houston made probably one of the stupidest trades that I can imagine with the Dolphins. I mean, in hindsight, you look at that trade. I remember at the time, people were screaming and hemming and hawing saying, how can you let Laramie Tunsil go? But now in hindsight, I mean, look at the plethora of draft picks the Dolphins have to just stoke their lineup with more talented players. And I venture to say that it's not just the quarterback position. I mean, that game yesterday, and might I add, the game against Kansas City and the first game against Buffalo, when they played a premier team this year, they showed that the Rams. I mean, they showed in some of those premier games that they still had places to plug in.
There's definitely, and plus they could play with anybody. I thought that was one of the main things that we saw this year was the Dolphins are competing. Every freaking game they're competing. They're not getting blown out like they were in certain games in the years prior.
Yes.
They're competing every weekend. So yeah, it looks promising. And again, they're way ahead of what they thought they were going to be in terms of a plan. They thought they had a 2 or 3 year plan, which is obviously in fast forward mode right now. And they seems like they're a year ahead of that plan, just like every other professional sports franchise here in South Florida.
Yeah, it's, sports in South Florida, the Canes improving, the Dolphins improving, the Marlins improving,
Yeah, man.
the Heat making it to the NBA Finals. A little rough start for the Heat this year so far, but hey, it's early in the season. It's 5
You
games.
remember we
into it.
talked about that Bucks? If it wasn't the bubble situation, there'd be a little bit of a different story. In
Maybe
that
it
Bucks
would have
rep.
been.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
I agree with you with that. But you know what? The trajectory is going in the right direction. This is going to be a huge weekend for football. We'll talk a little bit after the break about the NFL games going on this week. And I got to tell you about my Christmas situation. It's like
we got to talk about a lot about this whole weekend that we've had off. Oh God, Christ. Number one, I'm still hurt and I'm a little bit slow because I got after it multiple occasions. But number two, I got a lot of stuff going on, man. Like houses in the Keys, just we got to get into a lot of things.
We gotta talk there, brother.
Yeah.
So start your morning every day at 6 a.m. with 4th and 20 with Toast and Marsh. The boys cover all the local sports stories while providing some great Miami Hurricanes insight. Download, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. 4th and 20, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. only at onsideradio.com.
All right, you guys are live.
Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. Thanks for joining us. So we have a text in from a George Gonzalez, and George says, do you think the Dolphins would have won that game yesterday with Ryan Tannehill at the helm? I mean,
it's
is
been
that
a few years
funny?
removed, man. It's like asking about Ken Dorsey winning a game at the University of Miami. I know it's only a couple years, but if you look at what Ryan Tannehill did with the Tennessee Titans, but you also got to look at what Ryan Tannehill did in the playoffs with the Tennessee Titans, when basically that monster of a running back, Henry, that ended up getting 2,000 freaking yards, one of the only 8 running backs in NFL history to get a couple grand in an NFL, like just ridiculous. Anyway, it was a one-man show. Tannehill was obsolete when it came to the playoffs last year, whether it was the defensive coordinator making him go one-dimensional and taking away from Tannehill, which is exactly what defensive coordinators did with the Dolphins here as well. Right. You know what I mean? So at least with Ryan Fitzy and with Tua, predominantly more with Tua, you had that double threat RPO option that Ryan Tannehill doesn't run. So a pocket passer that might be somewhat fleet of foot and somewhat deceiving in his speed, I don't think we would have saw a different outcome, man. I think the Dolphins, as much as that culture has changed with Flores so far, I still think, the old cancerous mentality would have done something to even flub that game even worse, to be honest.
Yeah, I will tell you, though, that pass at the end of that Titans game yesterday by Ryan Tannehill, that's a money pass right there.
He's pulled a couple of them out of his ass before, though, which is like, weird to see. And I remember, ironically, one of the biggest games that we had here at the end of Ryan Tannehill's career was against the Titans, was against Tennessee, when it was like a remarkable day at Hard Rock Stadium. It was warm as hell. The Dolphins fans had the biggest and best game that they've ever had of their lifetime, I imagine, at Hard Rock. And it was such a fun day. And they put a drudgery on the freaking Tennessee Titans. I remember they beat the hell out of them. So that's kind of ironic that happened with Ryan Tannehill. But yeah, I'm going to go with a hard no on Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's just too many dynamics involved with Ryan Tannehill and that offense, whether it's the receiver weapon, the tight end weapon, or that monster in the backfield that ended up, how many yards did Henry run for again on the weekend? I know he got his 2,000 mark on that run off that one side. I think he needed like
223 or something.
Yeah, he got a couple hundo, right?
Oh yeah, he was over 220. I know that. 250.
Jesus, man. And imagine what he's going to do in the playoffs. So I want to. So when do they play? Are they a Saturday game or are they? They're a Sunday game. Yeah, it's going to be Ravens at Titans Sunday at 1:00. So that's the first game. Ravens at Titans on a Sunday. That's a 2 big running back game, boy. Oh, the Ravens got a badass running game too.
Yeah, that's going to be a pound 'em game.
Yeah,
I've been watching the NFL since I was a little kid. I can never recall someone with a combination of size and speed like Derrick Henry. No. He's like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, I remember guys like Christian Okoye.
Well, you might remember. My running back, Christian Okoye was an anomaly. The Nigerian Nightmare, right? Yes. He was an anomaly. Yes. My running back that I had at St. Louis is Steven Jackson.
Oh, he was.
Steven's a big freaking dude, man. Las Vegas Jackson, like Jack was my height. I remember we were in the huddle looking at each other. So he's my height. He's like 6'2" and a little quarter. And his face mask used to be literally a quarter of an inch away from his face. So I don't know why and how he did that crap. And it was always because he had monster dreadlocks. I remember that. But he was 238, 240 something pounds at tailback, running the rock like 30 something carries, 40 something carries a game. Wasn't like the Marshall Faulk St. Louis Rams that you were used to seeing,
Yes, I remember
this was a stud in the backfield. This was a monster. And Steven Jack, half the time we didn't even block for the freaking guy. We were so horrible sometimes at blocking for him, and he got his own 4 or 5 yards a pop, which was very similar to what was going on with Henry, but Henry actually has an offensive line in front of him.
Yeah, and imagine at 250 plus pounds.
He's so big.
What is it like, you think, for a 195 pound defensive back in the open field, sees this guy coming right at you?
A lot of guys don't want to see that, man. That's why you see the guys bend down and kind of like try to give you their back or their shoulder pads and take their legs out. That's the only way you could do a guy like Henry, is hopefully you could trip him up. But he's just such a beast, man. Even his one cone dread that he's got coming out the back, his one braid looks like it's strong as hell. You know what I mean? You got other dudes in the league that got like a couple dreads hanging out the back of their helmet, but Henry's, it's got to be one like 7-inch straight dread. It's unbelievable, man. Even his dread looks strong. It's incredible.
It is. It's pretty unbelievable. So let's talk a little, if we can, this weekend and the NFL games coming up.
Yeah.
So Saturday we've got the Colts at the Bills.
Yep.
It's the first game of the playoff series.
These Bills, man.
I've been bullish on the Bills
Me too.
for half the season.
I think I was even bullish on the Bills last year,
Yeah.
and I told everybody, I'm like, this is going to be a race, because everybody obviously wanted the New England Patriots to be out of the race now for so long, because that's all they've done is won this conference.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's going to be next to take that torch? And unfortunately for the Miami Dolphins, the Bills look so damn good. You know what I mean? It looks like the Bills are really going to take over this conference.
Yeah. Well, you start with a franchise quarterback. And clearly, Josh Allen has shown this year he is that kind of quarterback.
He's evolved very nicely.
And then I think the key for them, I mean, this is nothing out of the, no big news flash here, but getting Stephon Diggs.
Huge.
Unbelievable. Now,
huge.
I got to ask you this. During that Dolphins game, and we'll continue with the Bills and Colts, but during that Dolphin game, Stephon Diggs was flossing his teeth during the game.
Teeth. A lot of guys have stuff that go on the side.
I mean, well, that's what I want to ask you about, because he was there flossing his teeth. I thought it was hilarious. I had never seen that before. I mean, maybe you have. I don't know what flossing your teeth exactly is. How's that's going to make you play better, make you faster? I don't know. But here he was flossing his teeth, and I wanted to pose that to you. What kind of crazy things might you have seen on a sideline players doing? I don't know. Maybe it's mental.
There's a lot of guys that like to look pretty and really clean. And Dion, I think, was the godfather of this, of like the look good, feel good, play good kind of mentality, which we unfortunately had to embrace from, a Florida State guy at the University of Miami. But we had a lot of boys on our team that felt the same way. Look good, feel good, play good. And then Santana Moss kind of, I guess you could say, metamorphosize that into big time players, make big time plays in big time games. So still to this day, a player takes a lot of pride in looking good. That's why he's willing to pay the $500, $2,000, $10,000 uniform violation fine on a repeated basis in the NFL, is because they feel like if they look good or better than the guy that they're playing against, then they're going to have a better day physically. So it's definitely a mentality. You got a guy out there, hell, he might have had something, prior to the game. He might be a guy that eats right before the game that might have had some kind of meat or sandwich or whatever it was that he was trying to get out of his teeth. But yeah, I've seen some wicked rituals. One of the ones that we have now where you're not allowed to do it anymore is that smelling salt stuff. Right. When you crack that pneumonia stuff. And that pneumonia stuff is it's not pneumonia, it's ammonia, right?
Ammonia.
Yeah, it's ammonia. And those little sticks, those little bars that you snap. We used to take as many offensive linemen as there were. Each one of us would put one in a small little water bottle, empty it first of all, and then you would crack them, and then you'd put it in there and you'd shake it up. So the minute that you open that up and pull from it, you're either vomiting or almost passing out. And we would do that.
Sounds like fun.
Oh, it's tons of fun. Arthur Blank did it in the locker room before,
really?
The owner of the Falcons, because he wanted to know what the hell we were always doing.
No
so,
kidding.
oh yeah. So Arthur Blank walked around.
I got a party with that dude.
It's awesome. AB's an awesome individual.
Really?
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's awesome. Until I told him Merry Christmas one year, and obviously AB's Jewish, and he didn't take too kind to that. He didn't like. That's probably why I was out. That's why I was like shopping for another team after that holiday season. But no. He's a great guy, and he actually walked around the locker room and was like, "Give me that," and he took it, opened it up, and he's like, "Whoo!" and he started shaking his head because it wakes you up out of unconsciousness. You know what I mean? So that stuff is so damn powerful, and it kind of waters your eyes up a little bit. That's why you see a lot of guys on the sideline. They'll have to hide it nowadays, or else the NFL will find you. They catch you on TV doing that. Oh yeah, you're not allowed to do that on TV.
Wow. Well, that was a weird ritual by Stephon Diggs. I will say, flossing your teeth in the middle of a game. I'd never seen.
Plus, it also might be that term. I'm out here flossing. It could be that like you know what I mean? Like I'm just out here like. I guess you could say just flossing on everybody. Just
right.
I'm just
didn't think about that.
Yeah, it could have like that kind of metaphorical meaning behind it as well.
So he was trying to give a message out there to the
world. Could have been. Yeah, you never know with these guys, man. They got. Or he might have told somebody at home that he's going to do it. Something like that. And then once in a while, word travels throughout the media groups. And if you tell a couple camera guys, check me out, I'll be doing something. And usually they'll get a camera on you.
Yeah. Well, I was watching the game with my two brothers. And I told them the story about how Isaiah, the young man from Broward County, had Isaiah McKenzie at 3 touchdowns, 1 return, and 2 receptions. And while I was doing my show on 12:10 a.m. last year, he came on and participated in a show with me.
I remember that, yeah.
And during the show, I told him, man, Isaiah, really, really great young guy. He's opening a barbecue restaurant down here in South Florida. And I told him, hey, man, I hope you have a great season except for 2 games. Hope you fall on your face against the Dolphins. And, of course, that was probably his 2 best games of the year. So I think I may have something to do with jinxing our beloved Dolphins against the Bills.
It's possible. You never know.
You never know. But the Bills are a 6.5 right now, 6.5 point favorite over the Colts. And I don't know.
52.
Colts have a good defense.
The over is 52 on that game too.
And over 52. I mean, the Bills seem to be able to score in big numbers.
Yeah.
But the Colts have probably one of the better defenses in the NFL. I think that should be quite a contest. What do you say?
Yeah. Is Allen due? Like, is he due for a bad day? You know what I mean? And you hate to put that on a player, especially as one as young as him, but you know, Bills in playoffs. This is big time now. Just like kind of like the Cleveland Browns making it to the playoffs for the first time in forever. You know, it's like, how's Baker Mayfield going to play now that it's the NFL? Everything jumps up. It's a little faster. The window of opportunity is a lot smaller. Coaches don't sleep throughout the week in order to go ahead and make sure they fine-tune their game plan. So, yeah, it's a different animal even during the playoffs.
It is. It gets ratcheted up. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other games going on this weekend. And, of course, we got national championship college football going on next week. That should be something to behold. But tune in every morning from 8 to 10 a.m. to 4 guys born and raised in South Florida and raising hell every morning to start your day. Catch a morning juice with Lemon City Live every day right here on OnSideRadio.com. Tell me when we're on. Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. Thanks for joining us here. And so, Brett, we were talking professional football, Bills, Colts. I think the Bills are destined. I really do. I think the Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl this year.
I think so too. I'm not going to sugarcoat this one at all. I think the Bills will be in the Sugar Bowl. Sugar Bowl. Yeah, will be in the Super Bowl. Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of the experts even agree with me that they're a Super Bowl bound team. Like, they really are. They're very well balanced. They're clearly playing a lot of mistake-free football. Whereas in the past, you could see how, you had the talent there, but they would shoot themselves in the foot. They'd be undisciplined. The way that their head coach really turned everything around over there, it's really, really impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive. I mean, when you have a guy like Josh Norman as your third cornerback, talent-wise, it's pretty impressive. I mean, defensively, they're impressive. Yep. Offensively, and I'm not just predicating this off, last night's huge victory. I mean, oh my God, here comes food every day here. There's food coming in. Holy moly, look at this. He's brought it all in. This Grant Miller is one heck of a guy.
So basically, the 2021, the diet is
gone already.
Postponed already. 2020, we got 2022.
Yeah,
we can start next year.
So Grant Miller walked in with some power pizza. It's probably those rolls that they're so delicious.
Pinwheels. Yeah, those
pinwheels. Wow. They are something great.
Oh, okay. Sure.
He went on a diet though.
Yeah, not anymore. I think I'm good.
There you go.
I'm good on the diet.
There you go. Good, take it all.
Oh, okay, sure.
Take it all.
Sure.
So there we are, the Bills. Thank you, Grant Miller. You are a gem. I don't care what everyone says about you, Grant. It is not true. So there we are. We both like the Bills. We're bullish on the Bills, right?
100%.
Okay. See, the second game on Saturday, 4:40 p.m., the Rams at Seahawks. Seahawks are 4.5-point favorite. The Seahawks befuddle me. 1 week they look
Russell
like
Wilson doesn't befuddle anybody. That dude threw in laser beams at people in the end zone.
Yes.
The way that he could find ways to win football games, like at the end of the day right now, if you look at the last few NFL seasons, what other quarterback is out there that can give you that much of a chance at the end? Like, you have their Tom Brady's and your Peyton Mannings that can walk up and down a football field. Aaron Rodgers is another one that has done some like miracles at the end of games. Is there anybody better than Russell Wilson at doing it? Like, even Mahomes, you want to put Mahomes in that kind of walking up and down the football field category. I feel like Russell Wilson, there ain't anybody better doing that at this point in time right now in NFL football. So the Seahawks, I don't know, I think it's because we were always rivals, the Rams-Seahawks games during the day when I was there. So I'm always impressed, but I think I'm more impressed with Pete Carroll, to be perfectly honest with you, than I am about, what the Seahawks can do. So,
he's really players love to play for Pete Carroll.
There's just something, I think there's something about him. There really is. You got something going on over there. That's pretty impressive. That's a nice little ring. What is that? Andy Korge had his wonderful ringer on there.
Yeah, I guess
like some elevator music. That was some strong.
I guess so. Sorry about that, crew. Sorry about that, crew. I do like the Seahawks. I just, week to week, they seem like 1 week I watch them and they look unstoppable, and then the next week, not so much.
So you're saying it's a consistency thing?
Yeah.
But you're thinking Goff right now, because he has turned it on at the end of the season. Goff's turned it on at the end of the season, so you kind of. Yeah, I guess you make me revamp that thought process.
And that defense the Rams have with Aaron Donald in the middle. What would it be like blocking Aaron Donald?
I don't want nothing to do with it, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, if you ever seen that guy in person, he's not that big. Aaron is not that big at all. Like, really? Shockingly tiny. If you take a picture of what Donald next to all the other defensive linemen looks like a kid. He looks like a little kid. But then you get him to take his gear off and you realize he's 300 pounds of solid muscle. Like, that's the difference maker of how quick he is and how powerful he is. But you could somewhat misjudge who you're going against just due to his size, because he's not the biggest guy at all. You got offensive linemen that should be trouncing and running him over, but God, that leverage thing he's got going on and his hand speed and his foot speed just overcomes any kind of size differential. It's just monstrous. And the fact that he's just stronger than Ox too. You mix all that stuff in there. Like, Sapp was small too. Like, Warren Sapp was small as a 3 technique. like Donald gets in there and he plays the one sometimes, which is like what usually gets double teamed by guards and centers. So he's a
combination of everything.
Yeah, he's a different animal by far. You ask his teammates, they say he's the best they ever played with.
Yeah,
like
ever. I hear not just his teammates, I hear a lot of experts say that in the NFL, that he may be the best of all time. Has a pretty good company when you have the likes of Reggie White and people like that in that conversation. Once you get in that conversation, the last stop in your career is the Hall of Fame.
Of course. Like, there's a few players that you could probably put in the Hall of Fame while they're playing, and especially at as early as what he is. Because let's face it, Aaron's only been around a few years.
Right.
At a guy that's only been around, let's just say even under 8 years, you're not going to throw them in the Hall of Fame already. You're always going to question, it's a longevity thing. How many years is, please, you can put that guy in the Pro Bowl Hall of Fame right now.
Right.
Right now. You can put him right now. So yes, first ballot Hall of Famer already at the beginning of his career, I think. Like and the consistency, the longevity, the fact that he doesn't get hurt, that's another thing. He's a fine-tuned specimen. So yeah, you're making me rethink this thing. Do I see the Rams going back to a Super Bowl though? No, I don't.
No, I don't either. And I think ultimately they're playing in Seattle. The Seahawks are just, even without the crowd, I don't know. That just seems like an advantage to me. Playing in Seattle, it's just the aura of that stadium, where it's located, all that stuff. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Russell Wilson, that is one hard guy to defend. I mean, he throws those lasers. He gets out of trouble when he's pressured, can run the ball. He knows exactly when to get down every time.
Yeah.
Never seems to get hit, hard. I'm with you. I think Seattle, but a 4.5 point favorite. I don't know. With the points, it's a low over and under at 42.5. So I don't know.
Don't they also give, like, for instance, like the home team automatically gets like 2 points?
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, that's a tight game again. That's another even tighter spread than the top one there, the Colts and the Bills. So yeah, but I think the one that I think a lot of people are focusing on is they want to see what Tom Brady's going to be doing at Washington. Number one, Alex Smith. Okay, you want to talk about that amazing comeback player of the year, the guy who told that he was ultimately going to die, prepare the will, make sure everything's okay, and then, oh, no, we're just going to take your leg from you, or you'll never walk again, is now leading the Washington Redskins, the Washington football team, back to the playoffs.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, it is what it is. Whatever. Yeah. We'll figure it out when they give themselves a name, right?
Yeah.
As long as they're the football team, I like to throw whatever at them. So, right. But yeah, Tampa Bay at Washington, Tom Brady going against, Alex Smith. That's going to be an impressive game, because I want to see what Tommy's going to do back in the playoffs again. And the fact that Bill is not going to be around, that's the other thing. The fact that Belichick is not in it, but Tommy is. That kind of shows right now how that dynamic worked out.
Well, and I'll tell you what, just before the break here, real quick, that Chase Young with Washington, I'd want, if I was Tom Brady, I'd want nothing to do with that dude. He looks like he is going to be a stud in the NFL for a long time.
Very long time. They're going to have a blocking scheme for him. They're always going to put two bodies on that guy. They're not going to let him rush alone. But then you're going to leave the other guy open. And then you got a couple defensive linemen and linebackers over there for the Redskins that can definitely take advantage of a one-on-one situation.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Well, hey, guys, basketball fans, rejoice, because the 5 Reasons Sports Show is expanding. Heat and NBA insider Ethan Skolnick can now be heard every morning here on OnSideRadio.com from 10 a.m. to noon. Catch Ethan Skolnick daily from 10 a.m. to noon with the 5 Reasons Sports Show exclusively right here on OnSideRadio.com.
Mics are hot. All right, bring it back.
Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. Thanks for joining us here after the holidays. And boy, I got a couple centers in the house. Look at this. Do you guys like feel at home with one another? Boy,
there is like a feeling of not only just camaraderie, but like mutual respect. And the fact that he's like got the right colors on. He's not wearing like the shitty blue and orange.
Oh, yeah.
Like that. You know what I mean?
I can relate to that. But Ryan Rodriguez, thanks for joining us here at Romberg and Korge. Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, the one thing that I really love about this is I think Manny's, I guess you could say, main objective is trying to make the crib great again, right? So seeing not only like South Dade kids, Coral, the Chiefs there, what the hell are they called?
Carroll City.
Carroll City, not Coral, Carroll City, Edison guys, but having guys from like Columbus. So whether it's our All-American kicker and his little brother, you know, you got that little duo coming back here, and but now we got like an offensive lineman, which I found, especially when you're dealing with the Cuban gene. We talked about it with Joaquin.
Right, yes.
That Cuban gene is like, it's not exactly, you're not going to be the most prolific athlete on the football field, but the fact that we got, one that's built like that coming in, there's something about the nastiness of a Cuban dude that I wouldn't, because my guess is you're not Scandinavian with the last name Rodriguez. It's a fair assessment. And you can even hear the Miami twang in his voice when he talks a little bit more, and allows me to shut up here. But yeah, I'm pumped. From what I've heard from the coaches, from what I've heard from other guys, from what I've heard from the Columbus community, that he's the real deal. He's very similar to what we got currently at center, which is Corey Gaynor, a nasty Stoneman Douglas kid. You know what I mean? Just somebody who's tough, that's going to come in and not be afraid to compete and be way more physical, way more physical.
And on the line, the center is a guy that's really got to be thinking a little on his feet, right? I mean, you're calling the play.
Are you sharp? Because you got to be like one of the sharpest tools in the shed to play that spot.
Yeah, this year I was at center for the first time, and I had to make all the calls on the line for everyone, not even just myself, for the left tackle to right tackle.
So where did you play before you played center then?
Last year I was at left tackle. Sophomore year I was at right tackle.
Oh, so you're well versed on everything then. So
this year I played guard and center. So I was all around throughout high school, and now I'm probably going to stay at center.
Is that what you figure playing at Miami? That's where they're going to plug you in at the center position?
Yeah, I'm probably going to learn from Corey Gaynor. As you said, he's a nasty O-lineman. That's how I like to play. So.
It's a good one. It's a good one to learn from, to be honest. And I'll tell you a little story about Corey. People don't really know this story, but Corey came in from Stoneman Douglas, right? And I remember seeing Corey's highlight video, which any rivals or any huddle or anything like that, pull up Corey Gaynor high school highlight video, and it's different. It's just mean. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's picking on people. Guys are on the ground, he's diving on top of them, which is, makes you go 6 to midnight as an offensive lineman once in a while. You get a little excited about that kind of stuff. And I don't remember seeing nasty videos like that with guys that were coming in. You don't get to see this. And if you do, they usually pick Alabama or they do something different. You know what I mean? But seeing Corey's and then watching him on campus, he almost became the whipping boy. Like, you come in as a freshman kid and you got a lot of the older guys that for the most part, they're not nice. You know what I mean? You're there to take somebody's job. So you got vets that aren't nice to you, and they kind of like try to find ways to break you down mentally. So what was going on was Corey became like the jester, the butt of the joke. And I grabbed him and I pulled him aside at one of those, like, what was it? It might've been Mark Rick's Paradise Camp. And I said, hey man, I've seen enough. Like, don't ever let any of these guys talk to you like that ever again. Don't be the whipping boy. Don't be the butt of the joke. Don't be labeled the moron where the coach is going to be taking his hat off and hitting you on the top of the helmet because you're doing something stupid. Like, don't ever be that guy. And then ever since then, boy, Corey Gaynor changed that around. He's the team captain now. He's like, he wants to punch the other guys in the face when they screw up. So I can imagine him being docile and nodding back and forth like this, is saying, yeah, that's kind of my plan too. He seems like he's a silent but killer kind of guy, if that makes a lot of sense. Am I reading you pretty good right now?
Yeah, I like to listen, but I've heard so many stories about Corey that he's just a beast. And in practice, not even just the games, he's trying to hurt people.
Oh yeah, trying
to pancake people every play, and in the games he's dominating people, pancaking people, and that's what I like to do.
So when we come back, I'd like to ask you a lot about like your high school experience, watching videos. who you might want to like try to, obviously you want to do your own thing, but who are you like trying to emulate when it comes to the way you style, the way you play, the way you technique? So yeah, when we come back, I'd love to pick his brain about all that stuff. Plus, I'm a little geeked up. You know, I got a new cane in the house, so I'm pretty,
you got a new cane and a center, no less.
Yeah, I'm geeked up about this thing.
Well, it's pretty good. Young Ryan Rodriguez, Columbus High School center, signed with the University of Miami. We're gonna have more conversation with him in a moment. Catch a South Florida staple every afternoon as Alex Dono hosts the Man of the Match, 3 to 6 p.m. Dono covers everything from football to MMA. Tune into one of the most complete sports shows in the country with Man of the Match with Alex Dono, 3 to 6 p.m. exclusively right here on OnSideRadio.com.
All right, we're back.
Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. Thanks for joining us. We're joined by Ryan Rodriguez, signee, University of Miami. And a little fact, I knew nothing.
I love this. Did
you hear that?
This is a good fact nugget now for everybody out there. For the Cuban population right now, you're going to be like, you know, I don't know what you're gonna have to put like a tattoo on St. Lazaro outside in the casita in the front yard. I don't know what you're gonna do, but this is like something for the ages. We were just told right now that on every single national championship team, there was a Cuban from Columbus. Am I right, or am I extending the Cuban thing? Is that correct? So both the Cristobal's, Gonzalez, Effernan. Is Effernan a Cuban or no? We can claim him. You can be like Puerto Ricans. You can claim them. So it's Tia. Tia must be Cuban.
That Heffernan one, but yes.
Oh, Jesus, isn't that so? Okay, so kudos to Columbus then. Kudos to Columbus, no doubt about that.
Yeah,
one.
they produced a few offensive linemen at the University of Miami.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and I think like accountable ones too. You know what I mean? So I think it's smart I think I could probably say smart. I won't say that Lou Cristobal is the smartest tool in the shed, but Lou came out pretty good. He did very, very well for himself, both the Cristobal brothers. And I was just, is it his birthday for real? Oh, shout out, Big Lou. Has he moved out of town yet, or is he still here? He's still here. Okay. Oh, really? And then the other one's up in Georgia, right? Playing ball at Georgia State. But yeah, I'm pretty geeked up about this whole Columbus now. Obviously, I'm sure Joaquin is too as well. But asking you, getting a little bit personal as we kind of pull up this highlight video that apparently I'm going to go nuts over. And I liked how you kept it muted too. You were just like, yeah, you can keep pumping up Corey Gaynor. That's pretty fun. Let's go ahead and watch my highlight film in a minute. So tell me about your experience at Columbus. Like, what was your last 2 years at Columbus like?
My junior year was honestly one of the best years of my life. I had that conversation with one of my best friends the other day. We won states. That's the first state championship in my school. That season alone was just so crazy. The ups, the downs, the stuff that happened throughout that year.
Uh-huh.
It made my friendship with that O-line so close that I don't think it'll be ever anything to match that like bond we had with that O-line, the trench bullies. We made a whole brand off that closeness we had, and that's something I want to do at UM. Have closeness like that with the O-line.
Yeah, that's the reason why I think we became so well. That and it doesn't even have to be like the starting five. It could be like, it could be just about everybody. Whoever wants to buy in ultimately, the sacrifice that you got to have. But so you created a brotherhood ultimately, and
it's always been a brotherhood at Columbus. But yeah, we pretty much. So
now you've had the opportunity to go ahead and get scouted by some other teams. So I know Andy asked you at the beginning of it, but I'd like to find out on air, who did it come down to ultimately between your choices of schools?
My top three it ended up being Louisville, Wake Forest, and Miami, and it was probably going to come down to Wake Forest or Miami, but I never got to visit Wake Forest. I did a virtual visit. It wasn't the same.
Right.
I saw everything through Zoom, but it just wasn't the same as being there. And I don't know if North Carolina is for me. I don't know what the small like school in North Carolina is for me. I haven't even been there. So Miami was safe for me. It was comfortable.
And what does mommy and papi say? Are they excited that you're staying home or what?
Not even just mommy and papi. Mommy, papi, abuela, tío, padrino.
Are you going to be like Joaquin? Joaquin's mom's umbilical cord, we couldn't get over how long it stretched. Like, she would be in the stands and he would still be attached to that thing at the Orange Bowl on the football field. Literally, his family embraced everybody. And I think, I don't know is there any Cubbins there now from Columbus on the offensive line at Miami? Is there one? I don't think there is, right?
So, no.
So you might end up with a few of the boys at the house trying to show them, what's going on with the cubanazo kind of style. Like Joaquin did that. His mom did the pan con lechons. Like, he did, like, every weekend was something special. So you might be hosting, my man. I'm sure you're okay with that.
Definitely could cook.
Abuelita cooks.
My grandma, abuela, and abuelita both.
Oh, really?
They both live right down the street from me. They're always cooking for me, always making me food. Arroz con huevo frito.
Here we go. But we got to do the diet thing. So
hey, I could see they're cooking for him. He is a big young man.
So how big are you? Like, obviously, how big a boy are you? If I'm gonna go ahead and get after it,
I'm 6'3" in height. My weight keeps dropping. Going right now, I'm at 275.
Which is fine, trust me, which is totally fine. You're going to be putting on weight when you get into college anyway.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of food that you're going to see, especially, I'm baffled by it. Like, when I go over there, back in the day, we had the cafeteria where you would go and eat, hamburgers and pizza and French fries and whatever the hell you wanted to go eat. There was no kind of strict plan. There now, they got everything brought in, smoothies, dietitians, food, protein. You have like 7 or 8 different choices when it comes to different supplements and protein. Back in the day, it was like Metrix High Gear. You remember old packs of Metrix?
Yeah. Just
brutal. Tasted like shit.
Yeah.
You're like putting in your mouth and drinking water as fast as you can. That action was really bad for those watching at home. I'm sorry. But yeah, man, it was brutal. It was brutal. And nowadays, everything tastes so good. So you're gonna have nothing but the best. I know that for a fact when it comes to what you're going to be, being able to put into your body. Are you a big, and this is another thing, it's probably not going to deter you at all, is like the nightlife. And I know we're going through COVID and all that other stuff, but once things kind of start to normalize here in the next like 6 to 8 months, when you're going to be on campus and ready to go, are you a big going out kind of guy? Like, where did you grow up, first of all? Are you like Kendall? Are you like the South Miami area? Where are you from?
I'm right by FIU, but everything from my high school is usually around South Miami, right where we are.
Right.
Usually around
the Miller Bird.
around there.
Westchester.
un poco agua dulce, right?
All around
Entonces,
there.
I do speak Spanish. I don't know
You
if
do?
yeah, bro. I married Cuban.
I do a little bit. I mean, I'm
You
not
don't.
that
You got to
good.
be kidding me. Your parents, they must be pissed.
My parents do very well, but I'm not that good at it. I've
No
taken
way.
classes all of high school. I've learned.
Abuela must get furious when she's like cocinandoing.
One of
No
my
way.
uncles, every time he's with me, makes me speak Spanish to him.
Smart man. But
Every
all
time.
three of my kids, they look like they're straight off a Viking Norway ship, but they all speak Spanish. Three little girls, man. The first language is Spanish. My suegra wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for you, man. I'm really excited. And I'm glad that the lineage of like Columbus going to Miami and like staying home and staying local. I know there was a bad taste in the mouth of Columbus when it came to, especially with what went on after, like, Mario Cristobal, the Cristobal's, Joaquin Gonzalez. Joaquin put his name up on your guys' place over there at the weight room. And I know there's always trying to get that resurgence of guys at the University of Miami, but how prevalent has it been that you get, the Nick Sabans and Urban Meyers and those kind of guys coming back and trying to recruit some of the players that are coming out of Columbus High School? It must be like an ooh and ah factor when you got guys like that showing up at the school, right? Because even to this day, if I see Nick Saban or if I see Urban Meyer, I'm just like, ooh, that's big time right there. It's like Bill Belichick for me. It really is like a Bill Belichick scenario like that.
No, I mean, to me, it's just motivation. From my sophomore year, we got Henry Parrish, Xavier Henderson, which is a little brother of CJ Henderson in the NFL. So we had Dan Mullen coming. Harbaugh was calling.
Yeah.
Dabo Sweeney was at school. And I'm like, I want to be like this.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, so I worked that sophomore year.
Uh-huh.
I worked really hard that year, that offseason with him. He just got hired, I think. And I worked really hard, and then it finally came for me. And I was meeting some of these coaches. I met Manny Diaz and talked to him, and that was crazy. Meeting some of these other coaches, just sitting down and talking to them was crazy.
Really?
Talking to Lane Kiffin was nice.
Lane's cool, right?
He's smart, so it's just nice learning from them.
Yeah.
Like, I like to listen to people. And Lane Kiffin is really smart.
Really?
So I like to learn from him. And Manny Diaz is smart. I like to learn from him.
Yeah.
Coach Justice is one of the smartest coaches I've ever spoken to.
Did you like sitting down with Garen Justice talking?
Yeah,
I got that really good vibe from him as well. I don't know. Were you able to sit down with the previous offensive line coach at all? Did you ever get to talk to him?
I went to one of the camps.
You went to one of the Paradise camps?
Yeah.
Got
No,
it.
not Paradise. It was a Paradise camp. I didn't get invited to. When?
Is that a special invitation, the Paradise camp?
Yeah. It was Butch Berry, his name.
Just as good. Butch Berry, not so much. Well, to be perfectly honest with you, when I would sit in a room and watch videos and I would watch what Butch Berry was trying to do and recruit, I would kind of give my head a shake on some of the, like, he was all about monsters, long, lanky. Some of them look like slobs, like just, softer than baby shit. Like, just, the guys were showing up at this camp and I was looking at them. I'm like, these are the guys that you've been ranting and raving about. They wanted to quit halfway through the camp. And I was just like, oh my God, this is the situation that's getting on over here. I couldn't believe it. So I'm glad to see that they're getting some werewolves in there. To be honest with you, if I could take 10 of you and 5 of Corey Gaynor, I'd do that all day of the week. To be perfectly honest with you, are we able to pull up his highlight video?
Let's
I've
see
been
a
talking
little
too
bit
much.
of that.
Yeah, I'm a little excited. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead. So take me through some of these highlights right now that we're about to put up on this highlight tape.
All right.
Junior season. So this is last year.
This was state championship year. What do I add?
You at home eating oatmeal? This is your tia coming in saying, okay, mira, cómete los sopa. Sí, okay, dame la niña. Okay, here we go.
Belen rivalry game.
Belen game. You're at left tackle here on the bottom
Yeah.
of your screen, and you're about to put somebody on railroad skates. This is, oh my God. Oh my God.
This is 5-star.
So you're at the
from your
top over
school.
here now. Oh God.
He's like riding him out of bounds, basically.
That is such,
This is some pulling.
that's such a good feeling. So this is you out in open space, grabbing a guy, he didn't want none of that. Did you tell him to stay down after that? It looks like you barked at him somehow.
Yeah.
I like how you have extension when you start driving too, because that creates separation. That's really, really good. It shows you got a good bench press right there. Oh, put him right in the end zone. Why not? He's comfortable down there. Stay down there for a little bit. Look at that. Oh, I didn't do nothing. Palms up. When you give the palms up, like, I didn't do it. That's dirty work. I like it. Look at this. That looks like a Notre Dame helmet too. That worked out. What team is that you were playing against right there?
Miami High.
Got it.
That running back made everything look a lot better than it was. That was the best running back I've played with.
Oh yeah, he was good.
Henry Parrish, yeah.
Oh, Parrish. Okay, yeah.
This was past pro.
You're at the top of the screen, moving some feet here. I like it. And look at you hanging. You son of a bitch. Look at
He
that.
stays with the block, man.
I like so you got really good grip strength. You could tell that just by the way
Yeah.
you hold on to guys. And you got active hands, which is awesome. And you wear gloves and you're violent with your hands. That's
No.
one of the things that drove me freaking nuts watching the University of Miami a couple years back was just nobody's using their freaking hands. And you're calling out guys coming off the edge, so you know your defensive end is biting down on the inside.
Yeah.
So you're a smart player. Look at that.
Oh God, that's
That's
almost
so
embarrassing.
good. I think my nipples are hard right now watching this. It's not just it's like cold in here. Oh, there we go. A little checkmate. You see that? Go ahead. Can you put that back a little bit? This is some of my favorite shit. And especially as a center, a floating center, I used to do this all the time. You can't backtrack. Well, basically the guard was tied up with a 3 technique and he came down when the 3 technique wasn't looking and just gave him the business. And that's him not even, oh, look at that. That's wonderful. Don't come off the edge again.
A lot of edge blitzes when I was at left tackle, which was
And
pretty
the fact
easy
that you
work.
don't look at them is really, really good. Like that's really good. The fact that you know that they're coming, but you're not staring them down so they can give you a 2-way go. You're surprising them. That's smart.
Well, throughout the week, we learned the end will be tighter.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Some of your blitz giveaways.
the receiver will give me a little call. I look through the corner of my eye and
Yeah.
I see it.
Look at that punch. That's a good punch. It's pretty. So looking at how physical you are with your arms and your extension, what are you bench pressing 2 1/4 for? I like how you just ran through that defensive, like out in open space. There we go.
That's my teammate at UM.
The guy that put his palms up, the one that you
Yeah.
just hit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Look, I like your set too. Punch. There we go. Get your hands down, son.
I should have finished it, but
I
was
liked
nice.
what you did. I like what you did. That's one thing in the NFL that they try to still teach a lot of guys is when a guy jumps up and gets his hands up, try to shoot him in the belly. He won't do it anymore.
yeah, they never jump again.
Impressive
I
tape.
like his stance, man. He's got a nice stance. You don't panic with your feet. You don't have like pitter patter feet. You're very like melancholy when it comes to that. Like it's nice. You're not wasted any motion. That's nice, man. Oh, look at that. There we go. And lay on him. Yeah, rub your
Definitely a meanness
yeah,
about
man.
him.
He's like rubbing his deal on him and everything. Look at that. There we
You
go.
played all over the offensive line. Is there a position you preferred playing?
Center has been my favorite so far. I like calling everything. One
Keeps
thing
you
about
involved in
center,
the
though,
game, right?
yeah, the one thing about center though is it's the most tiring position I've played yet. So the
It is.
conditioning, I gotta boost it. I've been this whole year telling him let's condition more. Let's run out to practice.
And how are you with your offhand? Like, so you got your snap hand. So, you know, what collegiately, what they're going to try to do is pick on that snap hand a little bit. So you have to be really good bringing your other hand in and getting a hold of somebody. And you do really well with grabbing a hold of somebody and getting your hand on them. But have you really worked on that kind of thing, like sets and your feet, and as opposed to at any other position on the offensive line, like tackle and guard, you have a different set pattern. So your 2 feet work differently. At center, it's almost like you almost have to give ground certain points because you have somebody that's right on top of you. Who do you have helping you out with like that kind of stuff in terms of working position specific? Do you do position specific stuff?
Yeah, Coach Hill just works with me. One thing that I do, that my favorite move, I don't want to give too much away, but I do a little, I snap and I give a little quick stun.
Uh-huh.
A stun
On the top of the
to
helmet.
the helmet.
Oh, yeah.
Or a stun
Shortens
to
their neck really quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it stops their movement,
Uh-huh.
and it gives me that time to
Reset.
lose some ground, but I
Mhm.
get to regain all that ground when they're losing all that movement. So by me giving that stun, it gives me the time I need to
Yep.
recuperate, give me my feet in the right place.
Look at you. You're already learning stuff that they're trying to teach a couple of years in. That's Coach Childress teaching that stuff, huh?
Coach Hill, Coach Dunn.
Nice.
Yeah, I noticed you UM recruited another player from Columbus.
Yeah.
Jabari Ishmael.
Yeah.
Give you a little bit of sense of comfort that you got another player from your team coming with you?
Yeah, we're gonna be roommates. Ish is a really hard worker. We're working out today, us two.
You know that little bugger I used to like, spank him in the ass in the weight room? His dad's been our strength coach at the University of Miami since I was there.
Who's?
Coach Ish.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Coach Ish is, and he used to be he might still, you got to bust his balls about this the next time you see him. He keeps a bodybuilding photo of himself in his drawer in his desk in his office.
Oh, no.
And we used to go in there and always pull it out and put it in his window so people would see it on the way into the weight room. And he's literally in a little tanga and he's up there like, but I'm telling you, he was about, 265, 270. He was yoked up now back in the day. And he's still a big man. Now, Coach Ish is still a big man, but he's kind of got that. Who's the guy from The Simpsons? The black dude on The Simpsons. That
The Cleveland show.
on the Cleveland. Yes,
Cleveland.
Oh, so you already know the
Yeah.
comparison.
No,
obviously.
I'm not saying.
So you
anything.
put it out there. Okay.
No.
Okay. He's all ready for you.
Listen, Ryan, a little bit of advice. Don't take all of his advice here. Could get you in lots and lots of trouble. But Miami Dolphins fans, tune in into OnsideRadio.com's post-game show. I don't know when that's going to happen again. With the Big O after every Dolphins game. We'll take your phone calls, answer your texts, react to your post-game sound, and probably never read this liner again. Now Dolphin fans have a real place to react and connect after every Dolphins game. The radio home for Miami Dolphins fans worldwide is OnsideRadio.com.
And we're back.
Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. Thanks for joining us here on a Monday. We're with the young Ryan Rodriguez, center, Christopher Columbus High School, signed just a couple weeks ago with UM. He looks like a big, mean young man who's getting good advice here today from one Brett Romberg on the center position at the University of Miami. Something, Brett, you know a lot about.
Yeah, but I think he's taking it with a grain of salt.
I do, and as he should,
Yeah.
as he should. But, I'm wondering, COVID had a sort of an effect on the recruiting of you. You couldn't visit, you mentioned Wake Forest, LSU. So you think it had an effect on ultimately who you signed with?
When it all came said and done, I mean, I think UM would have ended up being the best fit in the end, like regardless of the visits, all that. But the only thing it would have really affected was the time of when I committed, because I committed early in March or April, I believe. I probably would have ended up committing sometime around this early signing period,
right?
Like at the bowl game or something like that.
Right.
So the only thing it really affected was the time of everything.
Have you ever been oohed and awed by any collegiate experience in terms of whether it was a stadium you saw, a game you might have attended or went to? Like, did you just go to see a nice bowl game recently?
I have one that comes to mind: UM versus Notre Dame.
You were at that game?
Yes, I was there as a fan, as a freshman.
Oh, that's a good one. That's enough to get somebody hooked, right?
Me and my friends were there, and that was one of the best times, one of the best memories I have at UM, at the stadium, being around UM. That was a great game.
A game like
Bandy scored.
Game like that has an effect on ultimately picking UM, you think?
No, but that was just one of my best memories there that had to do with UM. Like, just watching them win. They became the second-ranked team in the nation.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I heard that place was like rocking. I can't remember. I think I might have been at Marshall. I was doing the game at Marshall at that point in time, and I was getting, texts from the producer in the truck talking to me what was going on, and everybody that was texting me was basically telling me that place was. I don't know if I'd give it the Florida State 2001 game, but Orange Bowl style. But they said that's the closest that they've ever felt to being
no question
at the Orange Bowl. Was that that Notre Dame game, and then shortly thereafter, a couple weeks after, was Virginia Tech, I believe,
and the all black unis.
Yeah. That's. Do you think that Mark Richt, if he would have stayed, do you think that would have made any more of a difference as well, or no? It has nothing to do with the coach.
Mark Richt. I mean, I don't know much about like that him. I never really focused on him, but he seemed like he was already ready to go, like move on.
A little bit older at that point.
He didn't really seem that into it like he was before.
Right.
But whatever, things worked out the way they worked out, and
plus you got Manolo over there. The Cuban connection is over there.
Yeah.
Manolo Diaz, mucho macho many Diaz. So yeah, I'm like I said, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I'm. Number one, I know I'm ecstatic the fact that a local guy is going to the University of Miami finally. But the fact that, I could almost see, like I see kind of a much more physical and bigger and talented guy than Joaquin Gonzalez. But I see.
I think I got her call.
I see.
Finally.
Really?
We got someone.
It looks like we got the guy back. I mean, he's hard to get a hold of, this character.
Well, let's bring him in. We've got a celebrity that wants to give you a little bit of advice as it relates to taking advice from one Brett Romberg. So let's look who we got. Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's calling in today.
Hello, Andy Korge. How are you doing?
How are you?
Arnold, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing fine. Ryan, welcome to the organization. That's what I call the University of Miami. Don't listen to that Romberg sitting over there because, first of all, let me tell you something. When he played for Coach Davis, the first day that he showed up for practice, he was wearing a hockey uniform because he didn't know the difference between being a Canadian football and hockey. Don't listen to a word he says. Hear me now. Listen to me tomorrow, Ryan. Welcome to the University of Miami, the greatest football team in the world. I'm telling you now. Hey, Romberg, one question to you. Wasn't it nice that the Tar Heels got their face smashed in?
You're a little bitter still about that Tar Heel game the other weekend, huh?
I still don't like the Tar Heels. I mean, what is a Tar Heel? A reject from Notre Dame. I'll tell you now. But listen, Ryan. We look forward to having you as part of the team, and Romberg will tell you I'm around the campus from time to time, along with a person who went to the University of Miami. I just love the school, but the guy who really went is one of my very good friends, Sylvester Stallone. Tell him, Romberg, Sly went there, baby. Huh?
Yeah, man. Sly, definitely. Star Island guy.
Yes, he was a great guy. I'm telling you, but Ryan, don't listen to a thing that Romberg tells you. Look at his pompitude. It's disaster. I mean, he looks like a girly man, for God's sakes. He looks like he could play for the Atlanta Falcons again, and they can't do anything in the fourth quarter except lose a football game. But Ryan, I have one question for you.
You already
Is there
had
one
one question
school-
for Ryan.
I'm having another question. I am the Terminator. I'm the Elasa. Ryan, one question. What's the one team that you want to beat more than anybody else on our schedule? Talk to me.
The Dreams, Alabama, but FSU is definitely a
Ooh,
good rivalry.
look at
Yes.
that, Alabama.
Yes, I like that very much. And by the way, don't say anything to that girly man over there, Andy Korge. He's a Gator, for God's sakes. What is a Gator? They got their butts beat in the ground. Their guy is no longer in the Heisman chase. I mean, what is it going to be? And I need to ask this question too of Romberg. What do you hear about our quarterback King? Is he going to be good? Is he coming back? What's the situation here?
Yeah, he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be all rip around ready to go. I know he blew his ACL out, but I think he'll be good to go by the time that we roll around for the fall.
Roll around. That perfectly sums up Romberg's career when he was at the University of Miami. He rolled around. By the way, Coach Davis told me that Romberg used to sit out in front of the weight room, suntanning himself with his jock strap on. It was all oiled up like he was at the beach. He looked like a girly man. He looked like a beached whale from Canada, for God's sakes. But I'm telling you right now, Ryan.
Can't tone it, tan it, baby.
Yeah, he loves to be tanned. Look at him. He's so white. He looks like a sheet if it wasn't for his beard, for God's sakes. I'm telling you right now. But Ryan, listen, congratulations on signing with the greatest school in the history of college football. And don't worry about Alabama. I've got a little trick up my sleeve for Nick Saban. You know what he's doing? Because I can eliminate him. I can erase him. And you tell your coach, Manny Diaz, for God's sakes, get a new defensive coordinator. We need somebody to do something on defense. I'm telling you now.
He's going crazy.
All right. All right. I'll talk to you later. Hasta la vista, baby.
You love it. You can't get enough of it.
I
You
can't get
wipe
enough
tears
of-
from your eyes
That's
every time he
Arnold. That's
calls.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. What is it going to be like your first game in a Hurricane uniform going against the Alabama Crimson Tide and Nick Saban?
It's going to be a great experience. It's going to be a way to set the tone for my college football career. Hopefully, whether it's watching or playing, watching Corey or playing, whatever it may be.
To be honest with you, man, if you're
experience.
able to take over the center reins, they'll probably put Corey at guard or vice versa, either or. Like, to be perfectly honest with you, because let's face it, at this point in time, I really don't think anything's set in stone. You got Corey, who's going to be healthy, and then you're also going to be dealing with like injuries. And then I know they're talking about the pandemic and they're talking about COVID and they're talking about vaccinations and all that other stuff, but they're going to start flying commercial flights now again, eventually, pretty soon here throughout this. Number one, the student body, but also a lot of the athletic department's going to start doing that. So there's a lot of protocols that are going to be happening, and still college football is still going to be affected by the COVID situation next year. So trust me, all I always say is just be ready. At whatever it is, if you're starting, if you're not starting, if you're putting on a freaking uniform, just be ready. Like, just be ready to rock and roll, because you never know. And you never want to be not prepared or ready to go when your number gets called. That's the most embarrassing thing, and that'll always stick in a coach's mind. If you don't have your shit polished by the time it's ready to go and you kind of poop down your leg, it's over with. They'll be hesitant to ever go back to you. So, but I'm talking about guys.
Have you thought about what you want to study at the university?
Probably either business or
That's what I did.
something to do with sports. Elijah told me he's doing sports management.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I wouldn't mind doing.
That's what I did for when I got into grad school. Yeah, I did that.
Wow.
I'm surprised he had an answer for that one.
I am too.
I'm just going to play ball.
I would have said, yeah, I'm going to play ball, meet girls. I mean, what else is there in college?
That's a good point.
I was on the 6-year plan at the University of Florida when I was there.
So, speaking of that, college and girl, do you have a girlfriend?
No.
Smart. Very smart. Very, very smart. And then, do you know any other girls that are, obviously Columbus is an all boys school, but you guys, like, what do you guys hang out? What's your sister school?
St. Brendan.
St. Brendan.
It's right next door from us.
Any chicas that you know are going to be going to UM?
From girls?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's girls all around Miami going to UM. from different schools,
You notice how he said that?
not just St. Brendan.
Yeah, not just.
This is the part of the show you don't want to start listening to Brett Romberg. This is the part where you want to avoid listening to Brett Romberg.
The
But-
distraction of girl. Everybody knows the distraction of girls. It's tough. It's definitely a tough thing to handle, especially when you're living in that collegiate setting. But I'm saying he's already a Miami guy. You know, he's been down here. He's seen it before. Christ, girls nowadays that are like 14 years old are wearing stuff that what 25-year-old girls are wearing. You know, my buddy came into town and we went over to Joe's to have some lunch at Joe's. There was like these group of like 9 girls that couldn't have been older than 18 years old, but dressed up straight hooker wise, and then ordering like $1,000 bottles of champagne. And then my buddy looks at me, he's like, "Are we supposed to be paying for this?" And I was like, "No, man, their dad's paying
Their
for it.
dads.
Their dad is paying for it."
Of course. Well, hey, you like the Miami Dolphins, Ryan?
I'm a Cowboys fan, but
Oh,
I root
no.
for them.
Really?
Either way, you're watching.
I always wonder how that happens. A Cuban kid from, Kendall in Miami going to Christopher Columbus is a Cowboy
Yeah,
fan.
what
How
made
does
you a
that ever
Cowboys fan?
No, not bandwagon. I
Not
was there before Dak, before Zeke. The player that I really liked that took me there was Des Bryant
Okay,
and Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith is my favorite left tackle, my
happen?
favorite
Oh, yeah.
lineman.
his V is out of control, bro. That lean. Yeah, he's a monster.
He's a technician.
Yeah,
Like,
he's really good.
Well, we're going to talk a little Dolphins. Hopefully you can stay with us. We're talking a little Dolphins after the break. Hey, get the brutal honesty every day from noon to 3 p.m. with the Big O and the onside zone on your home for sports, talking South Florida, onsideradio.com. Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. Thanks for joining us here. Got young Ryan Rodriguez, signee, University of Miami center, in the house with us. We're going to talk a little professional football. Very surprised to find out you were a Cowboys fan, Ryan. I mean, and you're and I don't know if it was your father or your O-line coach here with us that said you're just a bandwagon jumper, but I don't think that's the case, because I don't remember the last time the Cowboys won a significant game, to be honest with you. But yesterday was no exception to that rule, by the way. But we've got the playoffs coming. We were talking a little bit of Dolphins at the beginning of the show. It was a bitter way to end the season for the Miami Dolphins, getting thumped by Buffalo the way they did. And what really hurt to me the most was that second half. When Buffalo was playing second and third string players, and they were still beaten up all over the Dolphins.
It was an embarrassing loss. That's what it was. Especially when you're dealing with an in-conference rival too. That's one of the things that I imagine, because I remember back in the day, 4 or 5 years ago, when I was having Jim Kelly on the show all the time talking about that rivalry, and then you would talk to either Marino, or I'd bring on like Gus Farad or one of the quarterbacks that I played with, Trent Green, that would come over to the Rams. There was always something special about that game, and it's been going on for a very long time. And we were two pretty poopy teams for the most part. When you looked at the way that our division and then the conference itself, how it came about, we were always, it was the battle. It was like the toilet bowl. It was like the battle of the worst teams at the end of the year. But yeah, it ended on a very bad note for the Miami Dolphins. But all in all, in the big picture, the macro, if you want to talk about that, it seems like we talked about earlier is that the trajectory, the path, the speed of which this team has recovered, and then their plan in order to go ahead and succeed is coming to fruition. It looks really good, except the one little hiccup of the Tua situation. And what it looked like to me after they fired their OC today, it looks like it's was it really? It was fake news?
Really?
Oh, that wasn't, they didn't fire. Oh shit. Well, then that probably goes my whole theory about.
There's your theory.
There's my answer.
Well, but
so you can't blame it on the OC.
Well, but don't be surprised if Gailey doesn't make it. I
wonder how that rumor started.
Well, everyone's thinking.
Well, everybody was piling on Tua.
Yeah.
So you can't be piling on your franchise quarterback, right? That's true. That's true. I know there was 8. I counted 8 in my time, but they ended up going back and looking at the film. 12 balls.
It was 11 or 12 balls they dropped yesterday. So it was not a good performance. I mean, he played with, really backup wide receivers at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Parker came back, and we saw the significance Parker had in the game yesterday. But, I have a question for both of you, because they're at different levels. You talk about those rivalry games. You played the Columbus. I know that Belen game at the beginning of the year. I think Belen chickens out. Now they don't even play you guys in football anymore, right?
They canceled it. Yeah.
They canceled it. But did those games did it juice you guys up a little bit more? I mean, you got into that rivalry game, whoever it was. I know it was Belen at one time at Columbus, obviously at the FSU,
State, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is your blood boiling a little harder during that game?
It's a different week.
The
whole week is different. Everything is different, because I know, regardless, you're talking about a 5-hour, trip up to Tallahassee, right? Is it 5 hours? Probably even a little bit more, is my guess.
More than that.
To the state capital up there. And yeah, the rivalry is just up the street for these guys, which makes it even worse. But how that starts usually is a lot of the kids from this little area that either pick Florida State, or the University of Miami. So that local high school rivalry, gets compounded up with guys when they spread out throughout the country. And then now, if you want to introduce national television implications behind it, where storylines are talked about and people are highlighting what you might have done or played against in college, because let's face it, that's where it's all starting, is basically back at the high school level. And we try to find those underlying stories as color analysts. And we talk to guys like Rodriguez to find out what defensive lineman he went against. Maybe like that guy from Palmetto that everybody's been tooting up. And how did you guys do against each other? Like, for instance, if you went against each other in like some kind of camp invitational and did like one-on-ones, and you might have dominated them. You know what I mean? So you never know. And that's how like the story starts. And this is why he's over here chuckling and cheesing, is because I think there's a little story out there that might have to get told when you get to the University of Miami about like one-on-ones and, snatches and, finding ways that, a guy had to cheap out and do a bull rush or like some stuff like that when you're not wearing pads. Like that's how these like storylines get started and they get remembered. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know is, one guy kicked another guy and then they get embellished a little bit and they grow. They grow. They're like mushrooms, like offensive linemen. You put them in a dark room, feed them shit, and they'll keep getting bigger and bigger. And that's how it works out. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you, does he look like your typical offensive lineman in that I have this perception of offensive linemen that they're like teddy bear kind of guys. Like, they're nice guys, just they get to a point where you don't want to get them mad. Then they'll throw you through a window. But for the most part, they're pretty nice, easy-go-lucky sort of guys. I'm talking about regular life, day-to-day life.
I think they're the friend that everybody wants to have. You know what I mean? Like you go to a party, you walk through a mall. I got my big buddy with me.
Not like a linebacker, right?
No, linebackers are deceiving, and they think their shit don't stand. They have a little bit of an arrogance to them. We're offensive linemen. We're humble. We're not usually, the best shape individual. We have to be comical once in a while in order to get the girls. We might not be the prettiest either. We're dealing with a lot of uphill battles from the beginning, but we find ways to go ahead and rise. We really do. Whether that's extra work, whether that's paying more attention or working harder than the next guy. So I think that it's something that's like almost Darwin into us when it comes to the way that we've evolved. And I feel like you're not going to find a better friend, a better teammate, a better guy to stand next to when the bullets are flying than an offensive lineman who will be there for you at the end of the day, no matter what, whether it's on the field or off the football field, to be honest with you. I think your best buddy is going to be an offensive lineman, to be honest, regardless of your position. So
no croquette. Don't touch his croquetas.
Bro, he's mentioned like 5 different frita foods. Like he's all about his fried foods, bro. All about his fried foods. I like it though. Yeah, don't mess with the fat kid's food. It's over with.
Anybody, three Columbus players now will be on the UM roster this coming year. Any players that you played with at Columbus that you might see on the other side of the line of scrimmage?
If we play Florida, I'll see Doobie, Xavier Henderson. If we end up playing Indiana somehow, I'll see Pimo and B.B. Cooper. Pimo is Jeremy Passmore. If we play Ole Miss, I'll see Henry Parrish. Georgia Tech is
you'll see Georgia Tech.
FAU, Andre Lamas, and Federico Merengues. Georgia State, Luke Cristobal. And I have some seniors that hopefully should find homes. COVID really messed them up, but they deserve to be in a position where they could play football at the next level without having to like compete with different scholarships because there's less because of COVID.
Let me ask you. We got 30 seconds right now. Let me ask you a question, an honest to God question. Everybody loves their own teammates. Everybody thinks that their teammates are going to be the greatest. Columbus is not the most prolific high school program out there. What separates a coach right now, if you're a collegiate coach and you're trying to plead your case, why Columbus guy should get a scholarship over some other guy? What would you say would be the difference maker from a Columbus kid to another rival high school kid?
Just the toughness Columbus has instilled in you from freshman year since you get there. Everything I've gone through, we've gone through as teammates. It's made us so strong. Our senior group is so strong. Just that bond, that toughness we have. No one's gonna outwork us. No one's gonna beat us.
And nobody's a sensitive Sally when it comes to getting verbally abused, right? Everybody's okay to take a little bit of I guess you could say constructive criticism, coach. They're okay with the constructive criticisms?
Good. Constructive criticism.
That's what you like to call it. In a court of law, it's probably going to be verbal abuse, to be honest with you. It might be assault.
But that's what makes these kids tough, man. That's what they need.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, Ryan, thank you so much. Ryan Rodriguez, the future All-American at the University of Miami.
Man. Hopefully going to be on that Remington watch list too. I'd love to see that. And Joaquin would, and every Cuban, I think, in South Florida would probably never let me live it down. Could you imagine a Cuban winning the Center Award for the National Football, or not National Football, the Collegiate Football Center of the Year Award? That'd be pretty amazing.
That'd be pretty amazing. Thanks again, Ryan, for joining us here.
Thank you guys for having me.
Pleasure meeting you, man. Can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see you in a Canes uniform. Can't
wait. Hey, Florida Panthers fans have a place to call home every Saturday morning as Cats Insider. David Dwork will host Chirping the Cats Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. Onside Radio is committed to all sports Panther. Fans can now connect every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. with David Dwork on the home for Panthers fans worldwide, OnsideRadio.com. Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. I loved that, Brett Romberg. I loved having
not as much as I did,
young
bro.
Ryan Rodriguez here. Boy, there was a glimmer in your eye. What's that? Oh, there was a glimmer in your eye with a young center, man. That is somebody, look, you see the impact you could have on the University of Miami. Just mentoring a kid like that.
I think a lot more of it was, okay, aside from you got a kid that like looks the part, right? But when you hear him talk about the things that you kind of believe what made the University of Miami, or what made, I guess you could say, I'll use the past tense, what made the University of Miami so great was everything that he was just mentioning and talking about. The fact that he was accompanied by his high school coach and his dad. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
That says something really special about how those kids are cared for at Columbus. And I imagine, a lot of other programs are cared for too, but it seems like right now, just hearing their coach talk and hearing the old man talk and hearing him, what kind of moral compass he's got, what kind of character he has, as humble as he might have seemed, I imagine he's probably going to tear somebody's arms off and beat him with them. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of feeling I got. Like he seemed like a very docile individual, but he didn't have the sweetheart gene that I was looking for over there. The sweetheart gene that you see in some offensive linemen that are giggly and funny. Like I guess you could say like me. I kind of got a sweetheart gene, but I also got the switch. You know what I mean? And I think he is not too far away from that switch. Like he's just always on an even keel until that chemical imbalance happens and it's just full speed go time. We watched his highlight video. He just dish ragging kids left and right. And then he enjoys running them off of the screen and into the ground, which is really cool. For an offensive lineman, usually getting labeled as lazy and tired and taking plays off, those ones right there that we saw, those plays, he definitely wasn't taking any of them off.
Man, they were impressive. Yeah. I mean, he was literally pancaking one after another into the ground.
And from a little birdie that told me about his camp experiences, the reason why I was alluding to some of those one-on-one camps that kids get invited to is he's dominating a lot of the 5A, 5-star, or whatever it's called, football players out there that are so highly regarded and touted throughout the rest of the country by, some of your bigger FBS programs. So he's not just going against regular jamokes. He's not going against kids that are at a 4A school that are like chemists. You know what I mean? He's going against some like real football kids.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some 5 stars that you can look at and go, well, that kid's going to be a stud in college. But for the most part, I mean, he was in the ratings I saw on Ryan, he was rated as a 3-star in a lot of them, 4-star in others. But I'm looking at this tape and going, that's not a 5-star. I mean, I don't know the difference between one or the other, but that tape, I mean, he was annihilating kids.
Yeah, and if you look at the competition too, that's another thing. You got a lot of kids that are making highlight videos on some really poor players that they're playing
True.
Against. So, I'll take the word of the offensive line coach any day of the week. I know he's not going to pump up his own players. They're usually pretty humbling and bringing you back down to earth. But hearing what he had to say wasn't much. It was a lot of smirking. A lot of he's okay kind of stuff, which tells me immediately that the kid's a lunatic.
And you probably agree with this. In order for the program to get back, it really, in my opinion, it has to start on the line of scrimmage.
100%.
That's where a certain demeanor about a game is bred from, the line of scrimmage. That meanness you're talking about, that get after them. Yeah. You're talking about it. It starts there. One thing that I noticed with UM on the defensive line, it just seems the tackles have not been those, stellar defensive tackles that you've seen throughout the years, the Warren Sapps and the Cortez Kennedys and the Russell Marylands. We haven't really seen those players.
And then accompany those guys with some like linebackers and defensive backfield. You know what I mean? Like once you get that really nice mix of linebackers backing up their defensive tackles, grabbing 2 of the offensive linemen so the linebackers can float freely. Like that's when you're cooking with something really, really nice. But yeah, I agree with you 100% that, it takes a certain individual over at the University of Miami in order to turn things around. And I do agree with you. I think that I would rather take a player with a lot of will over a player with a lot of want any day of the week. I'd rather have the player that has some kind of chip on his shoulder and might be a little bit less athletic or star decorated, but has a lot more ferocity and tenacity than the next guy.
Well, I think that's what we're going to see in young Ryan Rodriguez from
I'm
Columbus
excited. Can't
High
wait
School.
to see him in a uni.
Excited to see him in orange and green in the upcoming season. Hey, thanks, Brett Romberg. Great rejoining you here.
Yeah, man. We didn't even talk about. We got to talk about tomorrow night. We'll talk about our holiday week that we.
Oh
had
yeah,
off.
let's do that tomorrow. Tommy, thank you. Alex back in the studio. Thank you as well for joining us, and of course Ryan, his father, and his O-line coach. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on Romberg and Korge. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Your boy Sean Stanley hosts the Square Circle Digest. Now wrestling fans have a place to call home as Sean covers a very colorful world of wrestling. Tune in every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on the home of sports fans worldwide, OnSideRadio.com.